So Gillian, you were telling me about the Halifax, the International RJ Conference.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more? You were saying you were very impressed with the Nova Scotia RJ program and how they've built a community there. Can you just talk a little bit?
Yeah, so I think they've done it quite intentionally and strategically. So in the beginning of the program, when they first started the RJ program in Nova Scotia, they brought together all of the stakeholders, enforcement, the policing aspect, corrections, different facilitators, community groups, and they just started talking about it. And from those discussions, they created a framework and built on that. But they always kept it inclusive and wanted input from people. And one of the things I think they did that was most effective was they created a connection with the university, Dalhousie University, to research their work. So they never were scared of what the outcomes might say. They just went ahead and evaluated it and shared that information and kept it really transparent. And I think their relationship with the university has been one of their greatest assets, because they've been working with students and they've been working with researchers, and they've been able to demonstrate what they're doing and the challenges that they're having and also the successes that they're having.
So the university has sort of taken their data and amplified it in some ways, or made it more accessible, is that? And
researched. They've done tons of research on the program. Yeah. So what's working? How is it working? Is it working? Yeah.
What's the scale of how many cases? How big is it, in other words?
Well, in the last, I believe it was 9 years, they've done over 15,000 cases, had over 15,000 referrals from the police and from the Crown, that's huge. That's a lot of cases. Yeah. And the amount of what that offloads off the criminal justice system is, because they're basically all diversion. So these are all cases that are not going to court because they've been diverted into a community-based program.
So they would have to have a fairly strong relationship with the police and the Crown to make
yes.
It.
Yeah. And they have, and I think that they still, I think there is at times where those relationships are still challenging, because it is such a different framework, like a cultural framework. One of the presenters at the conference was saying, police officers, he was actually an RCMP officer, he said police officers are tested and, they form in the environment of discipline. You do something wrong and you pay for it. And that's how the policing system works. And it's hierarchical. There's seniority, and there's different levels of power. And so they live and work in this one environment, and then you expect them to understand and support and refer to a program that is completely contrary to those values and beliefs. So he said it's kind of like asking them to do two things at the same time. And he said that's where he thinks a lot of the difficulty comes from police, is because it's just not like a culture that they're necessarily familiar with, or at the very least not immersed in.